So good morning. Very well, it's morning where we are in Nairobi. I'm not sure where everyone's coming to us from physically, but you made it. We had many glitches here at the UN getting people onto the compound. I think in some universe it's Friday the 13th because somehow only part of the list made it to security, and we're in a different room. They didn't have a phone cord, and they want to charge us $50 to television. So I'd rather donate that money to, I don't want to take it out of our money. So it gives us a chance to build community and get a little cozy. We have lots of really lovely people. Just know that this is being recorded, okay? And I'll put this up on our YouTube channel, and I'll share it in our Facebook group. So what I'd love to do is just go around, because I think at least 50% of the benefit of these gatherings is the cool, interesting, creative, innovative, wonderful people in the room. So we'll just go around, do some quick introductions. If you want to tell us your name, if you're here with an organization, and something unusual, something that you don't know about. So it could be a hobby, it could be anything. Okay, so just introductions. Do you feel comfortable? Okay. I like that. Okay, Lotta, are you okay to start? Okay. Okay, so here's. Yeah, downhill. Woo! And I'm just gonna interrupt. I know that we face challenges of our lovely online folks feeling included. So if you can, pretend you're speaking to a group of 500 and really project. I know you guys are in education and training, and so really project, because I know they want to hear you, and people like listen to this afterwards. So, acting. Oh, lovely. Oh, so you really know how to project. Okay. Welcome. We're so happy to have you. Now, I happen to know he is amazing with video editing. And you might remember that we shot a video about this roundtable, and we've been looking and searching for someone to edit it. Ta-da! So we have the rough cut, it's all ready. And he's like, what do you need from me? And he's like, just these few things, poof, it's done. You are a rock star. So thank you. We're especially grateful to have you here. Hey, everyone. I'm gonna break the rule. Good. We like you see that. So I'm gonna say two things. Number one, I love laughing. I think that makes sense. Nice. And I was looking at their website the other day. It's amazing. There's amazing storytelling, and great website. Okay. Morning. And we have a Facebook group. So if you're interested, if you have cool, interesting videos you've just edited, you want to share, projects coming up, etc., please feel free to put them in the Facebook group to share. We'd love to have that. Okay. Ah, that term. Oh. Nothing's too hard. Good to know. So you're brave. What you're telling us is you're brave. Okay, Halima. Good morning. She deals with the group really inspires me. Good morning. My name is Stephen Asata. I'm a lecturer at the University of Eastern Africa. And also a co-founder of the University Academy. It's a school that caters for children who have failed exams in primary. So they cannot get out of school. So none of them can apply to the second chance. I'm also a psychotherapist and founder of a firm called Experiential. We use traditional methods to help people deal with psychological problems. One thing about myself that I could say I'm worried about is I don't know how to feel. The only thing that I can say, as big as I am. Would you like to learn? Is it something you do? Yes, I do. Yeah. Great. And do you want to introduce yourself? Want to speak to the group there?
Yes, I was on mute. Sorry about that. Yeah, so my name is Rachel Gadagu. I work with Humentum. Humentum is a global membership association that provides trainings. We do a lot of learning and development events, mainly based in the US and UK, but we are trying to have a feel or a base in Africa. So a lot of positions opening up in Africa, and to just see how we can engage further in the learning and development sector, especially for the NGO. So I'm sure most of you have heard of Mangor or Inside NGO. So they merged together with Lingos, and now they are referred to as Humentum. And a lot of NGOs in Kenya especially are part of the Humentum or subscribers to Humentum. So I work to support members to be able to get the best of their membership through Humentum. We also provide online courses. So in short, that is Humentum. Apologies, I could not be able to come there face to face, but next time I will organize my schedule well and be able to be there and hang out with you guys. So what you don't know about me, I love gardening. Yeah, so in my free time, I do that. I don't have the best garden yet, but hopefully when the rains come, I will have a garden. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just realized that the sound isn't working, so I'm going to try to work on that. We have speakers on the side, which aren't working. So my name's Leanne. Leanne Reagan. I'm the founder and facilitator of the Roundtable. We've been running for, oh, I'm sorry, we've missed you. Yeah. I'll finish them. I'm the founder and facilitator of the Roundtable. We've been running for about 6.5 years now. And I design and deliver customized training workshops for change makers. So I'm out to change the way the world works and to help people learn, laugh, and lead. And something unusual about me is I was just in northern Sweden at the Sami festival. So the traditional Swedish people, Swedish Finns, Russian, and it was -20. And we saw reindeer races, and we went in a traditional Sami, I want to call it a teepee, that's not, I think is the name, something like that. We had reindeer tongue, reindeer sausage, reindeer rib stew. It was spectacularly delicious and unusual, and I was so out of my element. So yeah, and then coming back, I took a picture of me from my family. I had my big warm boots on one foot and my Kenyan flip-flop on the other foot as I was transitioning on the plane. Like, oh, it's going to be so cold out there. So yeah. Okay, so just some really quick housekeeping because we want to get to, oh, sorry, yes, thank you. All right. Oh. Wow. Oh. Oh. Oh, nice. Yeah. Welcome, Victoria. We're happy to have you. Okay. So once again, welcome everyone. Sorry for the glitches again, and thank you so much for your patience and the challenges of getting online and getting onto the compound here. It was particularly glitchy today. So just some really quick housekeeping things. I'm looking at setting up our next set of meetings. So looking for topics. The last workshop, people were interested in theory of change and social change tools, so I'm doing some stuff on that. And I'm really happy to say that I've confirmed Kate McBride is going to be speaking. She's a really senior person she's head of IT for UNON, for the United Nations office in Nairobi, and she's going to be talking about learning culture. And I happen to know she does all these really cool things with her team, including a cape and a special chair and stuff to recognize people. It's really creative, fun things. So we're just working on when she can come. I'm also going to be talking to the group said they were interested in graphic facilitation. So I've got a lead on someone that a member recommended, so I'll talk to that person and see. And the Sami woman who did the introduction to Sami culture was spectacular. Her name was Anna, and I very briefly mentioned the Roundtable, and I thought it could be really interesting to have her come in on Zoom to talk about how do you educate people who have historically really taken away your power and privilege. The Sami people, like many other indigenous peoples, have really been oppressed, and they weren't allowed to live in homes in Sweden. That was illegal at one point. And not to single out Sweden, this has happened in many other countries. So I thought I might try to see if she could come. She seemed interested, so follow up on that. And yay, just a special clap out to Maxwell for doing the video. I'm so excited about that. So I need to look at the rough cut, but that's going to be available really soon. So we're just really grateful, and if you need some editing done, I'm assuming it's okay to say that. If you look, and I found out about him through Habitat. They had done some work in Kibera, and someone came back, my husband actually, raving about your videos. So that's how I got in touch with you. So thank you. I know we have a number of new people here. If you just make sure, if you want to get information about upcoming meetings, that you're on the mailing list. And there's a link on my website under resources for how to do that. If you got if I forwarded you the information one time, it means you're not on the mailing list. I just gave it to you this time. I don't automatically put people on the mailing list. It's only people who want to. So just check my website, rockpaperscissorsinc.com. Go to resources, look for learning and development, and click on there. And at some point, I'll pass around our donation. If you're able to donate a minimum of 300 shillings for the badge, that's what those badges cost us. That would be great. If you can do 1,000, that's great. And you might think, what's wrong with your math, Leanne? Why are you charging more? It's because we collect money all year, and then, as some of you know, we vote on who should receive that donation. So I'll pass that envelope around. And this is a special meeting because we get to officially announce, and I'm sorry if I'm about to butcher this name, we get to officially announce that according to our members, the vote, it's Utikus Academy is this year's recipient of our donations. So we'll get that. Yeah, that's really exciting. So I'll get some information later on, a phone number to just paste that money over. And if you want to send us an update, and by update I don't mean a 50-page report. I just mean, how's it going? We'd love to hear how things are going. I also put their website in the agenda, so you can click there for more information. Is there anything you wanted to say? I know in your introduction you talked about the school, but anything? Sorry, I'm kind of putting you on the spot there, but Stephen nominated the group. So.
The Roundtable organization is all the people of student organizations. The donations will be going to developing a school laboratory and then refitting and buying chemicals. I'm just excited that people voted for us, and I encourage us to continue supporting others as we move on with the Roundtable.
Great. And I kind of especially like the idea of giving people a second chance. It's really lovely what you said in your introduction. Okay, so it's time to talk about games for learning. So I put together a short PowerPoint, which I'll make available in the Google Drive. Now, Rachel, can you see the PowerPoint? Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to turn it around here so folks can see. So this was decided on by our group. Any initial thoughts on games for learning? What does it make you think of? What do you know about games for learning? Have you used games for learning? Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah. Sure. Sure. So some of us might have lots of games to draw on. For some of us, this might be totally new. Um, I've chosen to take quite a broad definition of game. So I'm going to give you, I think I've got 7 reasons here why games for learning are really powerful. But before that, any other experience? Were you going to say something? Do you have your... I know, Maxwell, videos aren't necessarily, you know, a game, but they certainly can be, right? And the gamification of learning is massive these days. If you've heard that term, gamification of learning takes the principles of gaming and applies them to learning. So gamification of learning doesn't necessarily mean playing a game. It can mean that, but it uses those principles. And it's maybe for another day. It's a very interesting. Has anyone done any stuff around gamification of learning? It's a brand new field. It's fascinating. And one of the things it looks at is what are people's motivations for playing? And so are you playing to compete? Right? So they have avatars designed for that. Are you playing for affiliation? And so we kind of take some of those principles and then we apply it to learning in really cool, interesting ways. So, anyone else experience with using games for learning?
These things, when you're doing therapy for we are not willing to express themselves.
Nice.
So we do play, we normally break into the inner part of someone, we can be able to get them express what the others not have expressed, especially among children.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, play and games access a different part of our brain than the logical, linear vocabulary side of it. It's really very interesting to see in session. Yeah. But at the end of the day, which was yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's a saying in English, if you've heard of it, to put your nose to the grindstone. You've heard that saying? So it just means like really work hard and buckle down. And if you think about it, if you put your nose on a grindstone, you would draw blood, right? So the old way of thinking about education and learning is really about suffering. You should sit there as I, the expert who knows everything, pours all the knowledge into your empty head. It's boring. It doesn't, the retention is not high. It doesn't recognize the knowledge that we all bring to the table. So games can really help bring that forward, right? Turn that type of pedagogy on its head. Okay. So one of the reasons then to use games is because it leads to powerful learning. So I'm going to explain a couple of ways that games lead to powerful learning. Can anyone here think of an instance where you learned something in a group as an adult that was powerful? Can you get that scenario in your head? You learned something in a group as an adult that was powerful for you. Do you have an example in your head? Now I'd like you to raise your hand if that example took place in university or college. Notice the lack of hands going up. So I've done this hundreds and hundreds, thousands of times when I do training of trainers. We look at how can we train people to train in powerful ways. And very, very few times does someone raise their hand that they've had a powerful learning experience in university. And not to diss university, I have a couple of degrees myself, but university is often based on very old types of pedagogy, right? It's the lecture method. Not to be disrespectful, professor. And many universities are looking at new ways of doing education that's more interactive. Okay, so one of the things, reason number 1 out of 7 is the attention economy. Okay? So I don't know if you've heard this term before, and I don't know if you know there's a new feature on iPhones. Have you used this that tracks the percentage of time you're on your phone, and it automatically tracks the number of times you're picking up your phone every day, and it automatically tracks your screen time by app and total time for the week. And it'll say, Leanne, your screen time is up 33% this week, or down 22. It's not uncommon for people to pick up their phone 150 times a day. 150 times a day. Now, some of that is definitely for learning, but not all of it. So our attention these days is much, we have a smaller attention span than we do have had historically. And in fact, there's some research that shows we're doing everything faster, including walking and talking. The last couple of decades, the pace of walking, now this will vary, of course, culture to culture and country to country, but everything in general is speeding up, including how fast we talk and how fast we walk. So the wonderful thing about games is it gets people's attention. And it's really hard to teach someone something if you don't have their attention. If their head is buried, right, in a phone, I mean, the very, very first step is getting someone's attention. Any comments on that? So you know this, right? Great videos, like, you know, and I don't know if anyone's been behind the scenes on YouTube. You'll know this much better than me. But YouTube now tracks the engagement rate of videos. You can see a graph of the usage on your video, and you can see, oh, at 25 seconds, the attention is dropping. Then you can go in and see, well, what's happening at 25 seconds in this video. And the general rule of thumb, which you can speak to better than I, is it like the first 10 seconds of a video, like you've got to grab people's attention. It's very short, very short. Okay. Okay, and that's, okay, so we just talked about that, the attention. So the second reason is for engagement. That games, they get people's attention, and then they get people engaged. And there's some powerful things happening in our brains, and I know we've got folks in the room who can also speak to this. But for example, when you're relatively recently have something called motor neurons been discovered. Have you heard of motor neurons? So if I say to you, it was a hot, hot, blistering summer day, the kind of sunny day where you can feel the sweat dripping down between your shoulder blades. And I ran up to the ice cream truck and just absolutely inhaled a chocolate ice cream cone with chocolate chips and pecans in it. What's happening in your brain is a part of your brain is thinking that it's doing the same thing. So those mirror neurons get activated, and probably your saliva, in this case, it gets activated. You actually get more saliva in your mouth. And the interesting thing about your brain with games and storytelling and such is it bypasses the cynic. So it bypasses the cynical part of your brain that says, yeah, what is she going to teach me? I don't know. I don't know if it's a good use of my time here. I'm not sure. It bypasses all of that and goes to, oh, you've hooked me. I'm in. I'm engaged. I'm focused. So we know this from all the studies we can do now on how the brain works. It's really powerful. These are amazingly powerful tools. Oh, and by the way, I should have said this at the beginning. The idea here, I'm just going to quickly go over these 7 reasons. And of course, if you have others, feel free to mix. I'll give you a couple demos of some games, and then people can work in small groups to talk about this, and then we'll come back together at the end. Yeah.
It's this engagement side. So I think the same as with discipline, research that describes so well. If you engage, you allow yourself to take that piece of information, the new piece of information, to fit into your own puzzle, the big picture in your own head. So your perspective decides whether that piece of information just passes you, or whether if you engage with it, you will be able to fit it into your life. Which is when it comes to learning, that's exactly our challenge.
Yes.
To understand what are those bigger pictures. So you can pick those pieces and make them engage with you properly, so you can, because we don't know that. So engaging with it will allow it.
Yes. Yeah.
So you were saying,
Nice. I just want to recognize Kennedy's online. Hey, Kennedy. And he works at UNON, so he's probably, Kennedy, you probably have your mute off. Don't feel like you have to change anything. Yeah, I can see you've got your mute on. But welcome, we're so glad you're here. He's a tech whiz and super helpful guy. Lovely to have you here. Yeah, I mean, when information, it's obviously more complicated than this, but when information comes into our brain, it hits our amygdalas, and the amygdalas decide 2 things. Can I eat it, or is it going to eat me? Okay. So in other words, can I eat it? Am I safe? Am I calm? Am I comfortable? Am I okay? Is everything copacetic? If so, then we up, and it's not quite this black and white, but we upshift to the prefrontal cortex, which is the most sophisticated part of our brain. That's where humor happens. So if you can get people laughing, that is, and laughing with people, not, oh, you have a really sucky dog on. Like it's not, it's good strategic use of humor, right? Because you can see some educators use very shaming-based laughter. It's not about that. That's where innovation happens. That's where critical thinking happens. If your amygdalas decide that it's going to eat me, in other words, I'm nervous, I'm scared, I'm shamed, I'm embarrassed, I'm upset, there's just been a sexist, homophobic, racist joke made, then we downshift to the brainstem part here, which is the oldest part of our brain that we have in common with reptiles. And it's only focused on fight, flight, or freeze. And if that happens, blood actually starts draining from your brain. Now, if I was to put 4 beautiful chocolate chip cookies in front of you and say, okay, you can have 4 cookies, what percentage of those cookies do you think feeds your brain out of 4? Any guesses? Would you be surprised if I said 1 whole cookie? So 25% of all your energy goes to feed your brain. Our brains require a ton of energy. And I'm not saying that chocolate chip cookies are a good fuel for your brain. But you can imagine, this very sophisticated organ that we have, if blood is draining from our brain because we're scared, upset, nervous, shamed, etc., that's not a good space for learning. By the way, if the blood is draining from the brain, where do you think it's going? Some of it's going to your hands. Exactly. So whether you've never, whether you're a person who would never, ever, ever throw a punch, your body is getting ready to do that. Your body's getting ready to defend itself. So it's not a great place for learning. So there's a lot of powerful, powerful science behind why all these really wonderful gaming videos, games, interactive activities, why they work for me. Okay. Okay. Another reason is retention. Okay. So it's one thing to get people's attention. It's another thing to get them engaged. The fantastic thing about games for learning is that it actually helps with retention. It helps people remember stuff. And you might be surprised to see these. Change the slide from here. So when we talk about, I love this concept. So this is Don Tapscott's definition of a classical lecture. I'm sure not lectures. A classical definition of a lecture is when the notes of the lecturer go to the notes of the student without going to the brains of either. I don't know about you, but I remember this painful university course. It was 8 o'clock on a Monday morning. It's a terrible time. There was only 4 of us in the class. So you couldn't, well, there was no cell phones at that time, but you couldn't, like, you had to pay attention because the prof would notice otherwise. And he was lecturing from notes that were so old, they were yellowed. You know? And like, I'm paying for this? You know? It was terrible. So, so just in terms of this retention piece, this comes from a book called Laugh and Learn. I always forget it. Laugh and Learn or Learn and Laugh so this is a classic retention for a lecture. This is a traditional lecture. What do you notice gets remembered? Yeah, the beginning and the end. So the fancy terms for that are primacy and latency, or primacy and recency. So to us educators, it's really important how you start and stop a workshop. So to have people have a hard time getting onto the compound is not a good thing. But I did that on purpose to prove a point. No. Okay, so, but what happens when we add this? Look at what happens when we add this thing. What do you think that thing is? It's even simpler than a game. Super simple. Yes, a break. So sometimes, you know, when things are going really, really well, our workshops are just humming and you think, I don't need a break. And sometimes the participants will say, no, let's just keep going. It's really important to give people a break because that's when a lot of processing happens, right? Unbeknownst, when it's not happening consciously, but our brains are putting things together. Do I shelve this into long-term memory? Do I keep it in short-term memory? All that kind of stuff. Okay, and look what happens when you add these things. What do you think these things are? Yes. So this is from von Restorff's work. I always wish that von Restorff was the guy who did the break research, because rest and break would have gone together, but no. So von Restorff, his research says these are what he calls colorful events. So a colorful event can be a game. It can be humor. Humor is considered a colorful event. It can be anything kind of interactive, change of pace, moving people around. So you're getting that re-engagement, refocusing, showing a really cool video. So, I mean, that's a huge case, right? If you look at those retention rates, and it's not that difficult to do this. It's not, we're not saying you have to do some kind of brain surgery, algebraic, equation. No, give people a break, add some cool, colorful events. Okay. Okay, so reason number 4, this is, I am your best friend and I am your worst enemy. What am I? As a trainer. This is for training. I'm your best friend and your worst enemy. It's your amygdala. So on the count of 3, say the word amygdala. 1, 2, 3. You now know the Greek word for almond. Okay? You just said the Greek word for almond. Okay? Amygdala is how you say almond in Greek. That's because the Greeks named the parts of our brain, and they didn't know what the amygdala does. We've got 2 of them, one on each hemisphere. But they look like an almond. They're almond shaped. So when I was talking about your amygdala as the thing that says, can I eat it? Or is it going to eat me? I always think of part of my description of what I do in life is I massage people's amygdalas. I'm an amygdala massager. Because if the participants' amygdalas are feeling relaxed and calm, then that door to learning is open. So, and for some people, that's the temperature in the room. For some people, that's being greeted. For some people, that's how comfortable is the chair. Those kinds of things are called governance factors. But there can be a whole bunch of making people feel included. Not saying things like, so you know the PQRT, if you multiply it by 3, then you could do the PBR. But please don't do the Gibulif. Because if you do the Gibulif, then the thing with the Kunkeluf is really going to cause you problems. Okay, everyone understand? Okay, great, let's move on. Right? Like super exclusive, right? Has anyone been in a workshop where you're like, what are you talking about? And you don't want to, because you always feel like you're the only one, right? Like it's a brave person to be like, what is a kunkeluf? So as instructors, as trainers, as teachers, as community activists, we want to make sure that we're massaging those people's almonds. Okay. If almonds don't get massaged, they can turn into lizards. Right? So that's that part of the brain, right, that we have in common with lizards, where the blood starts draining from our brain and the body's getting ready to fight. Not a good place for learning. I once did a workshop, and it still makes my body freeze up to this day, where the trainer, we were in a big theater, and if someone came in late, so we were all facing this way, the door was here. If someone came in late, we were all supposed to stand up, turn around, point to the person and say, you're late. It's like, oh, talk about shaming. You know, Brene Brown's research on shaming is fantastic. You've heard of her. And she says that no one ever learns anything from being shamed, or at least not the things you want them to know. The other thing this dude did was, if you got caught with your hands in your pockets, you had to do 10 push-ups in front of everyone. So the only thing I could think of the whole workshop is, where's my hands? Because I don't think I could have done 10 push-ups. And to be forced to do that in front of, so I wasn't really listening to him. I was just so concerned about where were my hands, don't put them in your pockets, don't put your pockets, don't put where your hands, don't put them in your pocket, where your hands. So really, really bad training. This was not inclusive welcoming. My amygdala was completely on fire the whole time. Right? Blood, there was no blood in my brain. Like it was all, getting ready to fight. Okay, so number 5, access and inclusion. Trainers can really help with, most times, whether it's visible or not, the people that we're working with are super diverse, whether that's age, gender, religion, spirituality, physical ability, educational levels, recency of migration, language, sexual orientation, trauma, experience with trauma. A group can look very, very similar and be wildly diverse. And I don't know if you've seen this comic where the person's saying, okay, for fair selection, everybody has to do the same exam, go climb a tree. And he's talking to a monkey, an elephant, a fish, a seal, and a dog. Okay? So that's equal, but it's not equitable. So games can really help with that. They really bring out the strengths of. Okay, I want to pick up the pace here because I want to give you guys time to chat. Okay, and then of course number 6, it's experiential. It's not theoretical. I always say, if you're trying to teach someone to swim, you can teach them water safety, you can teach them the angle that their arm should be up if they're doing the front paw. But if they never get in the pool or the lake or the river, they're not going to learn how to swim. Right? So games are great because they're experiential. Okay, and then I don't know if people, I don't want to get too technical here, but the experiential learning cycle, has anyone used this or know of this? So it's this goes back to the 70s. It's a very old tool that I use in every workshop. Basically, so the game is at the top. The game is the what. Okay, so you do an activity, and then you cycle into there's some official names for this. I just call it so what, which is like, how was that for you? This is the debrief. And then in the so what, the us, as the instructor, you're looking for patterns, and then you go to the now what. So that's the application. If you're just playing a game for the game's sake, that's not experiential learning. That's just having fun, and for the sake of having fun, those are energizers and icebreakers. But to get it to the point of learning, you want to push it into the experiential learning. So I sometimes do this exercise where people working in 2, they blow bubbles, and they have to get them and their teammate and their bubble to the other side of the room. And I was doing this with like 1,000 people. It was a huge, huge group. So roughly a quarter was on this side, a quarter was on this side of the room, quarter here. So it's chaos, right? There's bubbles everywhere. And I'm on stage, and I noticed this team comes, they work very quickly, and they're on the stage, they get to the side of the room, and then this woman turns around. What does she do? I'll never forget this. As people are trying to blow their bubbles towards her, she's doing this. She's blowing them away. I'm like, great debrief, right? Like, I didn't shame her, right? I didn't call her out. But when we talked about strategies for teamwork and communication, you can bet I used that example, okay? And it makes it really fun because it's using what I call lived experience. Okay? It moves it from theoretical into, and sometimes I'll write down what people are saying. And people love that because they recognize it, that's me, I said that, So it makes it really fun. And again, all the stuff with engagement and retention, it just click. Beautiful. Okay, I'm not gonna, this explains the experiential learning cycle in much more detail, and this will be available in the Google Doc, so you can access all of that. And then the final reason is transfer of learning. So we've got people's attention, we've got them focused and engaged, we're using experiential learning, and now we want the learning to leave the room. The games really help with that. The technical term for that is transfer of learning. How do we get transfer learning from the classroom, whether the classroom is a boardroom, under a tree, sitting outside, doesn't matter. How do we get it to transfer back into work life, personal life, whatever is there? So when you're working with these, these young women, right, that have all these triggers and they're trauma survivors, of course you want those skills to, when they get triggered out in the real world, like, you want those skills to transfer. So games can help with that. Okay, so some examples. So just quickly, this, has anyone seen a blob tree before? These go back to probably the 80s, and you can buy them online. So it's like $7 or something on your license to use it. I have a blog post that talks about your relationship with your supervisor. Okay? Then that takes you to a Google Draw document, and I've got the link here, I can pull it up. And you can actually draw a line on the blob tree pointing to, what is your relationship with your supervisor? Simple, simple. And people start making comments on the document too. And someone actually did a line from, oh, this is what it was before, and now it's like this. They have these for grief, they have them for trauma, they have all different kinds of blob trees. It's simple, easy, not expensive. And that Google Draw document lives online. So if I want to go back to it, and I can, when we break up into small groups, I'll bring up that link if anyone wants to see it. And it's just a really great door opener to talking about conflict resolution, communication, power, whatever. Okay. Another one. This is brand new. So I teach trainers I teach subject matter experts how to teach. So I'm doing an 8-week program one-on-one with someone right now, and we're just about at the end of it. And so I've got 2 games that I've designed to play with her. Has anyone played SOS before? You put an S, so you have a grid like this, and you put an S in a box. You can put an S or an O in a box. And then the next person can put an S or an O. What you're trying to do is be the person that adds a letter to make it SOS, right? And then you get a point. Right? So this whole box, all these little boxes gets filled up. It's great if you're on long road trips. Kids, depending how old, if you have kids, how old they are. Because of course you want to be the one that gets the SOS, right? But you don't want to give the advantage to the person you're playing with. So I turned SOS into SIS. And so she's not here, she's in Washington, D.C. And we'll play this online in our next session. So I'll use Google Draw. Anyone use Google Draw? So it's like Google Docs or Google Sheets. You can draw pictures. And it's the same thing, it just lives online. So I give her editing permission, and then she'll put an S or an I and an S. And this is she's now had 6 weeks of training with me. She's had 6 sessions. So now we're starting to look at application and transfer of learning and all of that. So the S, one S, because there's 2 of them. So it says, pardon me, when you place an S in a box, give me an example of your subject matter expertise. Right? So let's say you and I were playing, right? You put down an S, you tell me something about video editing, just a short little thing, right? As you put your S down. Because I'm working with subject matter experts in this thing. If the person wants to put an I, then they give me an example of instructional design. So we've had 6 weeks now of instructional design training for her. So that's all about how do you design trainings. So she's got to give me one little thing about instructional design to put an I down. Okay. Then the other S stands for stand up and deliver. So she's had training in instructional design and delivery. So she's got to give an example of what's something that you need to remember when you actually deliver it. So it's just kind of a fun, simple, easy way to recall this massive 6 weeks. She's had a lot of, the sessions are 2 hours each, so she's had 12 hours of content. We've been working together. So yeah, there's no test. Yeah, but yeah.
The purpose of it is to take the
Yes. Yeah. So it's a playful way to anchor the learning, to see, it's also good for me as the instructor to see what is she saying and what's she not saying. Like, let's just say there's been sections A, B, C, D, and all of her examples are from A, then I know, okay, maybe I just need to check in with her. What about B, C, and D? So it's a great way for me to see where is she struggling, what's coming easily to her, and where are some things that we might need to reinforce. All in a way that doesn't shame her or embarrass her, right? It's just fun. You're just trying to, and that when you get to draw the line, you get a point, you know, and it's also nice because she's a woman, so I've called it from, you know, let's get you from SOS, help, right, to SISTA, right, SIS. So I've just made some fun, and this took me, I mean, my VA did it, but I just wrote out the instructions. I might put up a Google Doc, it's done, right? And I can now play this as many times as I want. Easy, costs nothing except for your time. Now, you have, if you're going to do a Google Draw, someone has to know how to use it. So someone, but you can do a paper-based, right? It doesn't have to be. So free, simple tech tools. And then the last example I had for you, this is also for the same client. This is a board game that I made. Do you know the game Snakes and Ladders? It's called different things in different cultures, but basically it's a board game. You're trying to make your way up. You're trying to go up this board, and a ladder can get you up higher, and I think a snake takes you down. So this just shows half of the board game. But basically, you start here, which is actually the middle of the game, and then there's instructions on another page, and it checks again. So I've created a big infographic of all of the content we've covered, like a checklist. So we'll use that checklist to say, have you done this thing? Okay, if she has, then she moves up the ladder. Right? If she hasn't, then she moves down the ladder. Right? And the goal is to get all the way up to the top. So again, it's a chance for recall, reflection, and using a game. And I just had my VA, you know, just put my logo is actually a rock. The World for a Rock paper is a book, and scissors that kind of look like people. I'm like, okay, just put the world, right? And so we did some branding on it. And this is online, so easy to find. So that's a lot. Would love to, so we're at 20 after 11. Normally in our networking session, so we alternate between having a guest speaker and networking. So normally in networking sessions, we divide into small groups to share ideas, talk about things, and then come back. Does that work for you? Would you like to spend some time chatting with each other about games for learning, what you might want to explore more, or use a game, share a game that you've used? To do that? What we can do, so for folks online, we can all be in a group if you want and discuss, and I can also bring up these links and show you, if anyone is interested, I can show you the actual online examples of these games. Okay, okay, so we've got 2, 4, 6, 8 people. What size groups would you like? Do you want partners, larger groups? 4? For sure. Okay. Do you want to just do 4 and 4? Is that right? And if when we were doing our introductions, you're like, I really want to get to know Maxwell, and you're not in Maxwell's game, or group, just switch, right? Like if you identified someone that you want to get to know better, feel free to change it. So again, chat about the games, what could work for you, what might you need to do, and then I'll bring you back in about half an hour or so. Okay, Rachel and Kennedy, can you hear me? Are you guys, I'm gonna unmute you.
Okay. Hi, Leanne. Thank you for the good presentation, really exciting. But I'm sorry, I have to run for another meeting, but definitely the next Roundtable, we'll really try to be there in person. Okay. So thank you so much.
Great. And Rachel, you're on the mailing list? You're getting regular updates about when the meetings are?
No, I got it from Facebook, but I will go to the link and subscribe as for in the
Yeah,
mailing
make
list.
sure you do that, and then you'll get all the reminders of when to RSVP and stuff.
I will do that. Thank you again.
Thank you for your time. So lovely to have you. Appreciate your time.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, Leanne.
Hey, Kennedy.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? So nice to see you. Well, I can't see you.
Same here. Thank you so much for your constant, the regular emails. They're really helpful.
Oh, I'm so glad.
And for this one, I really wanted to actually be there in person, right? But you know how things get over here every now and then. We just came back from a short mission in the Middle East, so I'm still trying to catch up. But also wanted to ask you, we have another larger team on talent development, and we meet like once every quarter. And actually, they think for this quarter.
Kennedy, I just want to interrupt
Yes.
you because I know you came in a bit later. Just so you know, we're being recorded. Do you want me to pause the recording? Are you asking something related to this, or do you want me to pause the recording so we can chat about something else?
Well, actually, we can chat about it later, right? It's slightly on a tangent. So maybe after the session we could talk about it. Okay.
Oh, we can talk about it now actually, because I'm here for the folks online and you're the only one online. So let me pause the recording. Hello, future selves who are watching this. We hope that you've enjoyed some of our games for learning, and please comment in our YouTube channel or our Facebook group some of your own games. Thanks, and hope to see you next month.